Do you know what you want? Stickers. Do you know what Mostly Stickers has? Stickers and other stuff too. This custom Etsy shop creates pop culture and video game themed stickers for everything you have. MacBooks, PS4s, car windows, your significant other's mouth, we've got them too. And they have it. For all other listeners, we're offering a 10% discount code for the site, so head over to mostlystickers.etsy.com and enter the code ALPHAZONE. That's ALPHAZONE at checkout. Again, that's mostlystickers.etsy.com and enter the code ALPHAZONE to receive 10% off of your complete order. Now, let's start the show. What's up, everybody? I'm Sean Malloy again with the AlphaZone Gaming Podcast for the week of December 3rd, 2017. I'm always with my boys, Mr. Ron Fox.
What's happening, Sean?
What's up, man? And Mr. Kent Kingsford.
Welcome back, fellas.
I know, we're back, man. Took a couple weeks off to rejigger life a little bit. We're back, and we're hitting with the show of the year. We are talking Game of the Year all show, so stick with us to a reader question right away from the Gomez Prophecy on Instagram, and then we're getting into it. We're talking our top 10 list for the year, some hidden gems, and wrapping up the show with our most anticipated game of 2018 moving forward. So with that, I'm jumping right into the show. If that's okay with you guys.
Go for it.
All right, a couple weeks ago, we posted on Instagram at AlphaZone Gaming, and we got a question from the Gomez Prophecy. Gomez Prophecy, thanks for writing in as always. We appreciate any other feedback. And he states / questions, whoa, what's up, guys? You're hating on the Switch because it can play Doom, a current-gen game, but at less than 60 frames per second and lower graphical fidelity. What's up with that? Why the hate?
Well, not hating on the Switch, I don't think. But that's an important factor in that game. Is a first-person shooter. Frame rate's a big deal. Mm-hmm. But I don't think we were hating on the Switch. I think and I'll have to go back and re-listen to the show, but I thought we were all pretty positive on how awesome it'd be to take that portable. Just a little disappointed, and it's maybe a cycle that I get into where I'm just used to Nintendo releasing subpar hardware from a computing standpoint. So it's a little upsetting. Like their stuff always looks better than everybody else's stuff on their console because they build it with an underpowered console of mine, and everybody else tries to port stuff over,
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. I mean, I was trying, when I read the question, I was trying to remember what we were actually discussing during that topic. And for me, and I'm right with you, I give hats off to the Switch. Kent, you and I are Switch owners. Ronan, you're a soon-to-be Switch owner, right?
Yep, I'm getting one for Christmas. Can't wait.
And so for even Doom to run on the Nintendo Switch, it's really impressive. But like you said, Kent, I think Doom is such a twitch shooter. It's 60 frames per second. And you need that buttery smooth frame rate, and you need that polished. Well, I guess you don't really need that polish, but I mean, I didn't mean to hate on it, Gomez Prophecy, if it sounded like I personally was, but 60 frames per second, I would have liked that more, and then even drop the graphical fidelity lower, like give it 720p rather than 900 rather than 1080, and just make it buttery smooth, man. And that's my point. Is you play that thing on a PS4 Pro or a Xbox One or Xbox One X, whatever, you're shocked by like how good that game looks constantly. And so for it to be just lower like resolution across the board, a little disappointing, but hats off to that and to Bethesda for making it work. Any other wrapping up?
I think it shows I think it shows the popularity of the Switch that these games are getting ported to this system, even though it's not going to push the games to excel as much as the PS4 or the Xbox One. It's options and it's games to play on the Switch, not just first party. The Switch is an awesome piece of machinery. I played it a couple of times at a couple of the events that I've been to in the last couple of weeks, and it's just a really fun system. And if anything, Doom kind of feels a little bit out of place on it, just because you can imagine yourself playing the likes of Zelda. I'm sorry, Sean.
No, it's all right. Like, you know what? You bring up this really good point. I'm going to have you continue your thought. Yeah.
So yeah, the likes of Zelda, Mario, these fun party games, and to have Doom there as well, I think it brings in a totally different audience. And I'll probably check out Doom on the Switch and enjoy it just as much. If we're too used to these upgraded graphics and 60 frames per second. We've often played games years ago where it was 30 frames per second and it was just as good. I think if you're online, it does make a huge difference, 60 frames. But if you're playing a single player, I don't think it really makes that huge of a difference if it's a single player experience.
I think it depends on the pacing of the game. And I think it's probably, it hurts Doom a little more than most modern first person shooters because of how frenetic and visceral they really sort of almost force you to play that game, you know?
Yeah, I mean, just knowing how like the Switch is laid out, I just can't imagine like looking at the home screen on the Switch and jumping from Super Mario Odyssey or Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, and then all of a sudden like going to Doom is like this super mature, like hardcore, like gore fest,
heavy metal.
Yeah, heavy metal playing in the background. Like the juxtaposition of like those two different like cultures, like that's totally insane to me. But again, like we said, hats off to Bethesda for pulling it off. And like we don't bash the Switch. Like I think it's a great piece of hardware and it's a perfect like second console for anybody.
Well, I think Bethesda have a little thing going with the Switch, because didn't Skyrim get ported to the Switch
2 weeks ago? Yeah, it came out 2 weeks ago. Yep.
Skyrim got ported to absolutely everything. It's going to be on mobile soon. I'm convinced of it. But
hold on a second. I need to talk about my Zoom.
Strapping the phone to your face. Mobile VR Skyrim. It's going to happen, guys. It's the future.
Guys, don't talk to me. I got to practice my Zoom. Shut up. Like we're good to go. But no, like I can't wait. Like I love my Switch. Like I said, good second console. I traveled to Texas over the American Thanksgiving break, and I played Switch almost the entire flight. So finished up Mario Odyssey, which is going to crack my top 10 list at some point. I'm not going to tell you guys where, but super enjoyable.
Zelda.
Oh, God, if I had a bottom 3 list, it'd be, or the overhyped games of the year, it'd be like Battlefront 2 and Zelda. Like
just a quick one. I was pulled aside at the last event. I was at GXI, and I was basically told that our show needs to stop dishing Zelda.
Just point to me, like it's that guy, man. I
was in the retro zone of GXI, and one guy comes over to me, taps me on the shoulder. I was like, "Are you the guy that dishes Zelda?" And I was like, "No, that wasn't me. That's a guy.
That's the other guy. That's the other
guy. What he's talking about."
See, what's funny is like, and then I guess we can talk about it now, just the transition out. But before we go into the list, it's funny how like the game of the year discussion with like major outlets, it's ongoing right now, and everyone is starting to cool off of Zelda a little bit. They're like, oh yeah, that's right. Like when the Game Awards in America started coming out, it's like Zelda's like up for like sound design, and everyone's like, do you actually remember like any sounds besides like grunts and sword slashes and like the random music popping in every once in a while? And they're like, no, not until like the last horse ride. Like, yeah, well, I don't think, yeah.
This is something that happens to Nintendo though. This is the Nintendo magic, right? That they wave their wand, and everybody gets really extra nostalgic and they love it. And then after a while, it kind of fades and you kind of cool on it. I've only got one Switch game on my top 10, and it's not made by Nintendo.
Oh, interesting. Cool. Yeah, I can't wait. Yeah, I want to hear about this one. Oh shit, I think I wrote down the wrong game. We'll get to that. Anyway, so yeah, with that, that's a Switch corner with like out of like the reader's question, like whatever you want to do. So with that, boys, we're going into the game of the year. We each cracked down a top 10 for the year. So this is the only topic you're getting for the show. We're breaking it down. We're starting at 10. We're going through 1. If you guys have honorable mentions, or mention them at the end. But I've got my list. Ronan, you're good?
I'm good.
Kento, you good?
I'm gravy.
All right, man. So I'm going to start this off myself. My first game, number 10 on my Game of the Year list, is Everybody's Golf by Clap Hands and Sony Entertainment, or Sony Interactive Entertainment of Japan. For the longest time, I've been a Hot Shots golf fan. I played it on PS1, PS2, the Vita iterations, World Tour. So this coming back to the PlayStation 4 and really just like showcasing like, oh, this game is just arcade golf, which I missed. It's an open world. It has like little like side quests you can do within the courses, like little like, oh, hit the golf ball onto this lily pad in the middle of like the lake or something. And it's like really, the design's awesome. You can like make the little like Japanese version of yourself. Like, so I animated myself out. So he has like a little beard and a little like backwards hat and some glasses. And I just like tee it up, and the online infrastructure is really solid. I didn't have any lag, and it's man, it's like 3, I forget, can't help me out with the word. It's like when 3 players are playing at the same time. It's sync,
cooperative?
Yeah, not cooperative, but it's like the speed of play is really fast because you have like 4 or 5 players playing the course at the same time. So it's just like it's just synced play, which is like awesome, man. So yeah, Everybody's Golf, Clap Hands, Sony Interactive Entertainment Japan. That's my number 10 game for 2017.
I still have that in the wrapper. I haven't played it yet.
Oh, you gotta fire that.
Definitely have to get on that, some of that together when I fire that up.
Yeah, dude, let me know. I'm real bad at it, but it's like really fun, so it just balances. Kent, you've been discussing your number 10 game.
All right. Well, you're not gonna have to wait long to find out what my Switch game is because it landed at 10. I got Mario Rabbids on
Oh, interesting.
for the Switch. I so often people talk about on Nintendo consoles how the problem is when other people try to make games with their characters or on their consoles, it doesn't feel the same, it doesn't match up. Nintendo stuff feels better, looks better, et cetera, et cetera. I got to take my hat off to Ubisoft for taking a game that when they announced it, I was like, nobody wants that. Get that out of here. Yep. I believe that was my exact quote. Nobody wants that. Get that out of here. I love the game. I think it's really fun. I think it's in a genre that's really lacking in consoles, the strategy, turn-based strategy stuff. I like that kind of stuff if it's done well. Spoilers, Halo Wars 2 is nowhere on my list. And I was really hyped for that game too. And so like kind of an odd example of one I was so hyped for, and you think how could those be the same genre, but they are. And Mario Rabbids is really well done. The only, I guess, criticism I could level at it is it spikes in difficulty rather abruptly on people. But
interesting.
I found it fun.
Cool, man. Ro, anything to add to that one? Any questions from Mario plus Rabbids?
That's the XCOM style game, yeah?
Yeah.
No, I haven't played it, but I'm very interested. Jeff Gersman from Giant Bomb actually loved that game, and the way he explained it, it sounds like a very interesting game, and something that, again, it's a totally different play style on the Switch that you don't really get from, say, first-party Nintendo games. It's definitely
it feels as good as a first-party Nintendo game, which is kind of why it
probably looks as good as well.
Oh, it definitely looks good, no question. Yeah,
cool. All right, Ro, you're up.
So when I was compiling this list earlier on, I wanted to compile a list that was personal to me. I didn't want to, look at Metacritic and say, right, well, this got this, so that has to go at the top of the list. So this list is a total personal list that the experience that I've had with games this year, this is the list that I made. Number 10, and it's because I'll actually give Kent just props for this one, because this is why it made the list. He's the reason why this game made the list, and that's Destiny 2.
Okay.
Yeah, just for the simple fact that it just felt like a really good time playing it with him. We played a lot. We completed the whole campaign together, and from start to finish, it felt like a game that I was destined to play it with Kent, because we talked about it before. When you start that game up, it gives you a list of players that you've played the first game with. Yeah. And every mission that showed up, it was like, you have cleared this with Ken Kingsford.
Squirt.
Yeah, Squirt.
Squirt going at it.
Yeah. And I had a really good time playing it. My son absolutely adores Destiny 1 and 2. Destiny 2 is his favorite game. And that's the reason why it's made the list. I have so many bad things to say about it, but from the start of the campaign to the end of the campaign, I had a really good time, and that's why it made the list at number 10.
Cool. And yeah, you mentioned it well at the beginning of your list, bro. It's like a very personal list, and that's how I approached mine as well. It's games that I spent a long time playing and games that stuck with me after they finished. So with that being said, my number 9 game is What Remains of Edith Finch from Giant Sparrow, famous for putting out the Unfinished Swan 3-4 years ago. I talked about it in the show when it came out in March or April. This game is deeply personal to those writers, and it's about a family who's seemingly cursed, and the exploration of this house, and every room you go into and you explore, it's discussing like what happened to each family member as being the last member, like the last living member of that family, and realizing like the plot threads that were pulled throughout as explaining that, oh no, what happened to your uncle directly affected like your other uncle or your aunt. And so thematically that game is somewhat kind of all over the place. You do have like separate levels or instances with each character where you might be, one family member was obsessed with nature, and so you took the form of a bird and then a snake and then a rabbit and then a cat, exploring the environment outside of the house. The next one, it was dealing with I think it was a cousin with severe mental issues that eventually like committed suicide, and it's the balance of like his deep sadness versus joy that he had in his life. And how do you play that? You use 2 different sticks throughout this level to really separate the thought processes. And yeah, number 9, What Remains of Edith Finch. What a hell of a game that was. So yeah, that's mine.
Yeah, I didn't really dive into that one too deep. It was kind of just a bad time for me to kind of do a story like that, was what stopped me. Yeah. But definitely a really unique take, really good storytelling. Like, I feel like that's a game kind of like Firewatch almost.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Where, you know, like you can't really point to any like I can't really point to anything about the game itself that's great, but man, the storytelling is just phenomenal.
Yeah, and it's like, and some of the stuff was kind of janky. It's like some of the controls weren't 100%, but because that narrative was like so strong, it just like punched me right in the stomach. I'm like, yeah,
it's definitely great. I feel like that's the poster child this year, probably for story over, you know, gameplay. Like solid story will still sell a game.
So I heard a genre name for that type of game that that hit me last week. Stroll playing game.
Oh, I like that.
That's
cool. I'm gonna write that down. That's cool. There you go.
Well, I'm gonna go the opposite direction. I'm gonna play a game that has got about as much story as a Steamboat Willie cartoon, and about as much hand-drawn love in it too. Cuphead is my number 9.
Oh, cool. Nice. Yeah, good choice.
I really enjoyed Cuphead. I need to go back and play more of it, frankly. I've gotten sidetracked by other stuff, but just such a fun game, such a fun throwback. And it's been a while since it's weird the places I keep finding it, because like I tried a couple, you guys know from, you know, stuff I've played and talked about on the show and off the show. I've tried a couple games to get that feel that I got from Bloodborne. I tried Dark Souls 3 and I didn't enjoy it anywhere near as much as Bloodborne. I tried was it The Surge or whatever, the sci-fi one? And honestly, the game that gives me the most feeling of Bloodborne is Cuphead, and it's because it requires you to play at a high level. But if you die, it's almost always your fault. Like I've never felt cheated by the game. I never felt like cheapened. It's the rules are the rules, and the players move very precisely. Really enjoy that, and the art style on it is just bonkers. You know.
Yeah. I mean, like I think was it last year we brought it up where I actually like read the stat where it's each boss battle has something like 1,600 different frames of hand-drawn animation. Just bonkers, man. Yeah, mine, like that was gonna crack my top 10, and I realized, I only got like a boss and a half into it, and I just didn't have like enough space. Like I need to play more of it to actually justify it being on my list. But yeah, hell of a choice, Kento. Bro, you're up.
So the next game I'm going with is it's an out there game, one that many people may have not touched, and that's Sudden Strike 4. The reason why I put this on the list is because it was a real-time tactics game that I was a bit hesitant when it came out first. I seen a couple of videos of it. Now it's a World War II based game, and kind of in the same vein as Company of Heroes. And the reason why it's on my list, and it's because of one aspect of the game, and because it's on console. A lot of these real-time strategy games, they don't convert over to console very well. The likes of Command and Conquer, you always feel like you're rushed to make a decision and try and make tactics on the fly, which isn't really how war works. Tactics are planned out, and you have a plan in your head, and you can meticulously do your actions. And this game actually allows you to pause the game. It allows you to move your characters within the pause, and then you can unpause it and the characters will move. That pause aspect of the game makes it so brilliantly tactical.
So basically like Transistor, kind of, yeah?
Exactly like Transistor, yeah, exactly. Okay. You just click in the pad on the controller, and it will everything will just freeze, and then you can say click on a character, move him into some cover, and then when you unclick, he'll move into cover. But you can do that across the map, and it just gives a whole different aspect to these real-time strategy games. And it's an aspect that it would be very difficult to play another game without having that option in the game. Sure. So that's the reason why it's after making number 9 for me. And for anyone that hasn't played it and that likes real-time strategy games, it's one of the best that I've played on the PS4.
Cool. Good. Yeah, good looking at. I don't have any experience, but yeah, it sounds awesome. My number 8 game for 2017 is Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus by Machine Games. published by Bethesda. Specifically, there's like two things I want to speak out on this game. Is first, the opening 5 minutes are so brutal and it had me not wanting to play them. I cannot believe they actually put that sort of like scene into a game, and it shows how strong that narrative is and how unafraid those guys were of telling their narrative. This is the story we're going to tell. I don't care. Like they pull no punches with it, which is awesome. And it goes from super serious and not sort of flashback, but just reminiscing back to like the BJ Blazkowicz, brilliantly played by Brian Bloom, another one of the highlights of the game for me. And his really like coming to terms of like his past and his relationship with his father as the narrative progresses, and God, it's so buttery smooth and it plays well, and it just kicked me in the teeth over and over again. But again, can't you write up? It's fair, man. Like when I mess up in a level or a segment, I know exactly what I did, and I might get punched in again and again. But God dang, that game is so freaking good. So hats off to Machine Games for Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus at number 8.
So I know I'm going to probably upset at least one person with the placement of this game.
All right, let's go.
My number 8 is Assassin's Creed Origins.
Oh, let's
both of us! You pissed off both of us!
You know what, man?
Right,
it's you know what? I've been putting a fair amount of time into it. It's definitely the best Assassin's Creed game ever made.
Yes, it is.
Oh, fair enough.
There's no question that's true. I just think people maybe got a little excited about that fact and started overhyping other aspects of the game that are not necessarily fixed yet. I found a lot of the side quests. I've gone to the same fucking village 4 times to do 4 different things that amount to the same exact deal. I sneak around, kill the guys. I rescue somebody trapped in a tent or a cage. It's still got Assassin's Creed problems, but it's much, much better. I don't particularly think the combat has improved much. I think they just moved the buttons, but that's just me.
Interesting. I think, Ro, you were the first one to point it out that like they actually went to like a Bloodborne, like Dark Souls style combat where it's more important versus like the one-on-one battles rather than I want to walk into a group of 15 dudes and be able to like parry, attack.
Yeah, well, there's a total different approach to the combat. The way I play it anyway. In previous games, it felt like more of a time-based. You attack, you press the counter button, you attack, you press the counter button, you attack, attack. In this game, it feels more like you're dodging, you're weaving, you're trying to create an opening. And then move in. I don't know. I feel like the amount of weaponry in the game actually varies the tactics towards your enemy as well. But it's in my list, so I'll go into detail when I get to it. Combat is not the star for me, but I'll talk about it when it comes up.
Yep, I will say one thing I do want to point out is that I think that I don't hear people talking about that I think has vastly improved in those games is the traversal and the stealth.
Yes.
Agreed. To me, like after playing with it, when I first picked it up, I kind of felt the same way everybody else did. And after playing with it for a while, like I don't think the side quests are any better. I don't think that the combat's really that much better. It's different. I don't think it's better. I think it's still kind of as lazily executed. But man, the traversal and the stealth in this game is just so much better than it's ever been in any Assassin's Creed. Like
totally agree.
It's almost Metal Gear Solid level stealth for me, the way I've been playing it.
Yeah, it's super rad. Ro, you're up.
The next game is it's a strange one because it was released kind of over the year of 2016, but we got the full version in, I believe it was February of this year, and that is Hitman Season 1.
Oh, good call. I forgot about that.
Yeah, Hitman, it was developed by, I believe, IO Studios and published by Square Enix. And Square have been doing this thing where they're releasing episodic parts of games and then releasing a full one at the end. I think they're doing the same with Final Fantasy VII. And some people would argue that Final Fantasy 15 is somewhat similar as well. But Hitman, it went through a really rough stage where I think Hitman Absolution was the one before that, and I really thought it was a step away from what Hitman was known for. I think it was too action heavy. There was too much emphasis on killing as many people as possible. And with Hitman Season 1, I don't think too many people got to experience that game because it was released in episodes. But I would tell anyone, if you're into Blood Money, Contracts, any of them old games, please go and play the new Hitman. It's absolutely brilliant. I'm not sure if it's sold particularly well, especially with the section parts, but I'm sure you can pick that thing up for really cheap, and it is a really solid Hitman game, and it goes back to its roots, if you ask me.
Yeah, and like to touch on like news with that is Square Enix just gave the rights back full front to like IO Interactive to keep publishing those games. So we'll be getting more Hitman. So I'm interested if they're going to do like the same style, like just do a season 2 of Hitman, or how they're going to do it. But I remember I played, they had like a free trial for one weekend, so I got to play the intro level where it's all training and on the yacht, and then
yeah.
Was it Marrakesh was the first one, or I forget what was the first?
It's like a fashion show.
Yeah. Oh, that's the Paris fashion show, right? Yeah. And so playing those, it's like the smartest thing about Hitman that I found was you get this open world, like these mini open worlds to play with and approach it no matter how you want. So brilliant level design. Good,
it's perfect for episodes. It was perfect for me because with a Hitman game, I like to, go in, scout out the place, try and do it in a way that you can just get through it and figure out what your enemies do or what your target does. Then you do it again, you become better, and again and again. And I feel like because it was released in, say, 1 or 2 levels at a time, that you could really focus all your attention on a level as it came out. And for me, it worked for me because I didn't want to rush on to the next level. I wanted to master this level before the next one came out.
Yeah, and I think and we can't forget you're able to contract kill Gary Busey, so that's a thing. All right, with that, good pick, bro. For my number 7 game for the year, I'm going with Super Mario Odyssey on Nintendo Switch. Like I said, I finished it over the American Thanksgiving break, and as I am not as high on it as any other of our colleagues in the media, but I think Super Mario Odyssey balances this brilliant level design with great character moments and great these like possession powers. And I was able to talk with my godson over the last couple days about it, and he's like, "Oh, Sean, did you get to this part where you have to like transform into a caterpillar and like bend around like poles and around edges and stuff?" I'm like, "Yeah, I did." And he's like, "Oh, what about the part?" He's like, "Did you get to possess the lava ball that goes up and you can like fly around with them?" I'm like, "Yeah, I did." And so the more I talked about it with people, the more and more I appreciate the design of the game itself. So and it has these 2 stellar moments that everyone talks about, like the end of New Donk City, and the way you leave that level in the game is one of my favorite gaming moments of the year. It's just super cool. So I have nothing but good things to say. I on the slight, it is incredibly easy. Like that game is super, super easy. I know you can go for all 999 moons. I have no urge. I finished the game with, I think, 204. And I'm good with that. So the next time it'll get played is next time I'm on a plane. But number 7, Super Mario Odyssey by Nintendo on the Switch. Let's cross that off the list.
Yeah. For me, number 7 is gonna be it's I wished I had if I had gone back in time to the first game and had done a top 10 list for that year and played it in that year, it would have been in my top 10 list, and it would have been pretty high up there. But it's South Park: The Fractured But Whole.
Yeah, nice. Good choice.
It was a good sequel. It's not as good as the original, in my opinion. The writing's just not as good. Combat's a little bit better. There's some trade-offs, but overall, really brilliant game. I am not a turn-based RPG person. And that game pulled me right through 2 turn-based RPGs, actually. Because I played them right in a row. I played Stick of Truth and The Fractured But Whole just back-to-back because I got it for free. Really enjoyed it. I hope that Trey Parker, Matt Stone keep making those games, even if they take different. Like I would be happily see them take a completely different format, so long as they're involved with the next licensed South Park game. Yeah, because definitely. It really feels more organic when they're involved. It feels like you're just playing an episode of the TV show, which is I think what most fans want.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a good pick. That actually didn't crack my top 10, but I am going to throw it into like the honorable mentions at the end of my experience with South Park. So that was a good pick, Kent. Totally forgot about that game until you mentioned it. I had to write it down really fast. Ro, your number 7 game.
My number 7 game is one that I talked about a lot throughout the year. And if you guys can't guess it, it is Fishing Planet.
Oh my god! I thought you were going to talk about Dark Souls or something again. Fishing Planet.
So Fishing Planet came out on free to play on PS4. It was released on Steam in, I believe it was 2015.
Yeah.
And it was a game that I actually downloaded, but it needed way too high of a graphics card. I know a fishing game that needed a crazy graphics card, but it just wouldn't work on my system. And it just like ghost dropped onto the PSN store. My brother actually texts me and says, Roy, you got to check out Fishing Planet. The game is ridiculously realistic. You're going to love it. So I downloaded it. I was a little bit hesitant because I hadn't got a good fishing game since, well, the last good fishing game that I really enjoyed was actually in Final Fantasy 15.
Rapala, yeah, same joke. Count it.
So I was a bit hesitant, but no, it's very realistic. There are so many different styles of fishing that you can do, and I actually got talking to the developers on the forum, and they were taking a lot of advice that I was giving them because they seen obviously the pictures that I had with all the fish that I had caught, and they were like, so do you think that it's more realistic for fish to be in this area? And I was helping those guys out with that aspect of the game. So I was, involved with the development, which is pretty cool. And that's the reason why I want to put this on my list. I love that. I still play it to this day. It still goes down as the only free-to-play game that I ever put money into to buy some new gear.
That says a lot, man. No, that says a lot. Like, I think you made that point. Like, really, it's like the only free-to-play game you've pumped money into. And I had to actually like think. I'm like, all right, what free-to-play game? Yeah, I don't know.
So another great aspect with that game is it's actually online. And when I was younger, and this is one of the reasons why I like playing video games, especially games that remind me of my childhood or remind me of a different activity, is me and my brother lived across the road from a canal when we were younger, and we used to just go over there and fish all the time, like on our days off from school. And Fishing Planet is actually online, and he logged on, I logged on. I looked over, I could see my brother's player character standing beside me. We were comparing fish like on screen.
Cool, man.
And
awesome.
we were just chatting on the headset. And it was just, it was a really fun time. And that's why, I mean, this game is probably slashed on Metacritic and probably got terrible reviews, but I don't really care. It's through my experience that I love the game. And that's why it made the list.
Cool. I mean, that's all justified, man. I love it. Like, that's a great story. Number 6 on my list is
pay Ronan, because that is the only top 10 list mention they got guaranteed.
Pay him money. My number 6 game for 2017 is Uncharted: The Lost Legacy by Naughty Dog. I put this on here for a couple of reasons. Is one of the main complaints about this game is like it's more Uncharted 4, right? But all I want is more Uncharted 4. So it's like, it scratched the itch that I want. I'm like, oh, cool. This is coming out about a year and a half after Uncharted 4. It's like this 8-hour experience. I think the way they opened up to open world was really interesting. And then after the open world, it got back to more Uncharted like levels. But when we mentioned like these like personal reasons, like why these games made our list, is once I start hitting like my top 6, I realized these are the games that I finish and I start going back to get trophies or experience levels again, or like just relive a moment. And Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, I did both of those. I went back and I trophy hunted a little bit, and I went back and I wanted to play this train sequence again, or this Jeep sequence again, or the opening of the game that's brilliant, and just witness this environment that Naughty Dog has created again. So Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, man, number 6 on my list. Hats off to them. Great game. Underappreciated game.
Yeah, I still need to pick that up. I haven't got a chance to play that one, but that one, and I have that one and the Horizon DLC kind of locked in a corner for a rainy day kind of thing.
Cool. Yep.
My number 6 is a fighting game, because I do love me some fighting games. I'm gonna put Injustice 2 on there. Cool. The campaign mode is everything you've come to expect from a NetherRealm game, which is kind of crazy to say. But NetherRealm knows how to do fighting game campaigns where they mean something, they're fun, and they pull you through.
They sure do.
The mechanics are great. The DLC has been great. The system for gear is great. It's essentially the same system for Assassin's Creed Origins, just implemented on DC characters you love. Cool. The skins, just in general, I really enjoyed Injustice 2, especially because you don't have to. You can You can play the multiverse event because I'm not a person who enjoys playing online. Like lag bothers me, and I'm not very good at fighting games that I should be fighting people online. But you can do like the multiverse stuff. You can go back and kind of play some of the stories through, you know. So I really enjoy the multiverse events and a lot of that stuff, even if I don't jump in a lot of King of the Hill or any of that. But just a really, really solid fighting game. If I was going to level any criticism at it, would be why the Mortal Kombat characters. Like, just have faith in it. Let the characters be DC. Let it be DC. You don't need to cross connect it with Mortal Kombat. You know, it's strong enough to be its own thing.
Or cross connect it to all 4 Ninja Turtles, because
I'm hyped about that, dude.
Dude, that trailer was legit. So I didn't have a lot to add to Injustice 2, but I do want to say that as a comics fan, God, that story was so good. I rented that game over a weekend. I slammed it on easy. I played through just the story campaign because I was a fan of the first Injustice story, and I've been reading the comic series ever since, and just going right into Injustice 2, it's great, man. It's like everything you want out of a comic story rolled into one. So yeah, good choice, Kent. That's awesome.
I want to actually talk about Injustice as well, because even though it's not on the list, we had a conversation, me and Kent, recently about what fighting game I should pick up, and I went for Street Fighter 5, but I actually got hands-on with Injustice 2 at GXI last week. I was playing with my son and my cousin Christian, and the one thing I'll say about that game that feels just over all the other games is every character just feels completely different.
Yeah.
And you guys talked about the story. I didn't even dive into the story, but as far as if I pick Superman, he feels totally different than you guys can help me out. There's a big gorilla that I kept using.
Gorilla Grodd.
Awesome. What's his name?
Gorilla Grodd.
Yeah. So he was just, really powerful, the way he moves his body. And I just felt like each character you use is so different than the last. And I'm going to be picking up that game pretty soon. I was very impressed with it. Graphically, it's amazing as well.
Stunning, that game. So with that, Roy, you got next, right?
Yeah, so the next game is it's a remaster game that came out this year. It was brought out in 2012 on PS3, and I never actually got to play it when it first came out, and that's Dragon's Dogma. It was released. Dragon's Dogma. The Dark Rise.
You never got to play that. Actually, that is like if I was gonna point at a game and go, "That's a Ronin game." That's a Ronin game.
Yeah. So how I would compare this game is if The Witcher 3 is Game of Thrones, Dragon's Dogma is Lord of the Rings. That's probably the best comparison. It also has elements of, let's say, Shadow of the Colossus, where you can actually, when you're taking on big, say, trolls, you can actually grab on and climb up the trolls or dragon or whatever boss that you come across, find a weak spot and take them apart that way. The game is really difficult. You start off by creating a character. It can be any sort of character. I actually went for Arya and the Hound from Game of Thrones. Actually, the customization is ridiculous, and there's also a pawn system where you actually bring in other characters or other players' characters. It's kind of a way that they implemented online. So say if I made up the Hound, somebody else can hire the Hound to come along on their adventure, and then I will get points for my character. But it's the world that kind of blew me away. It's very Tolkien-esque, and it's just it's a really good adventure game. It's still sitting on my system. I've put about 15, maybe 20 hours into it, and it's just a really good time. It's a nice escape game that if you want to just dive into a different world, I'd recommend it to anyone. So that's why it made the list for me.
Yeah, good call, man. All those sound like really good selling points. My number 5 game from Ninja Theory, Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. A multitude of reasons why this game is so high up on my list. One is, again, this game is unafraid to tell a difficult story. This is all about mental health, and this Senua, the character, is her losing like all mental dexterity and slipping into madness, and that's showcasing with with the 3D technology, 3D sound technology, where the game starts and you are recommended to put on headphones because it wants you to experience these voices in your head in 360 degrees. And honestly, this is, I know Resident Evil 7 came out this year, but this is the most frightened I've been in a game for a long, long time. Is right when you start, you jump into the canoe and you're paddling down the river and you start hearing voices from all sides.
Yeah.
And
it's
totally
atmospheric.
God, it's so good. And although the combat is kind of repetitive when it comes to just the one-on-one fights, and the enemies are repetitive, but God, the game just stuck with me like even till now. And yeah,
I was my 5 is actually the exact same game.
Oh, cool.
So I'm just kind of curious, what difficulty did you play through it on?
Just normal, just whatever like the normal difficulty was. Yeah.
I ended up playing it through on hard because I like Ninja Theory games, and I thought I knew what I was getting into with Hellblade. I had no idea, but I thought I knew what I was getting into. So I picked what I would normally pick for a Ninja Theory game, which is the harder setting. And I have to say that on hard, and I played it on somebody else's console on normal, and I would say on hard it's much more tense. Like, it's a lot more pacing and waiting for that right moment. Like it almost is kind of more like a somewhere between a Bloodborne and a Dark Souls fight, where it's like you kind of got to back up and parry a little bit and wait for your opening. But yeah, God, I mean, that's kind of funny. We both ended up at number 5 on that one.
Hey man, good taste. And also, I have to give a shout out to Melina Jurgensen, who plays Senua. She is not. Dude, she's not a voice actress. For those who don't know, she is just someone who works
She's a tech worker that they thought they might want to have her play her, so they had her audition, and she just crushed it.
Oh man, it's so good. And like the mix of performance capture and FMV video going on in the background, like everything in this game just screams like it's original, it's challenging, it's difficult subject matter. So God, Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, both fully endorsed at number 5 by me and Mr. Kent Kingsford.
I think if you were going to make a case for this, for the most influential across the industry, like the biggest impact to other developers, I think that this is definitely the strongest one for that. And the reason being is the way that they made it, the way they dev diaried it and documented it, like beyond being a great game and representing mental health and doing just a phenomenal job of taking a story like that and making it, meaningful and being kind of fearless in your representation. The other thing they did was they also set on a mission to recreate the mid-tier developer and kind of write a roadmap for people how to do that, which if you think about it is insane. That's just so ambitious, all those different things. And they pulled it off.
Because what was this?
Go back and watch their dev diaries. You can see exactly how they made that game. And for other developers who have sort of similar ambitions, I think this is going to kind of revitalize the mid-tier AAA space if they can reproduce a lot of, because they did a lot of the motion capture a lot cheaper than these bigger companies are doing it, and it looks amazing. Yeah, like Andy Serkis level amazing.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
Yeah, but a really good game. And and shout out to the puzzles, because the puzzles are really unique in that game, and they're still very very good. They're really unique.
Yeah, we've talked about it on the show, but it's all about point of view and perspective, like these puzzles, which is like sometimes I was walking around for like 10, 15 minutes. I just could not get it until all of a sudden something would catch my eye, and I just transitioned the camera a little bit and it clicked. So yeah, thumbs up for me and Kent. Ronan, if you haven't played it, jump on that, man. But Ronan, number 5.
So totally different than what you guys went with. It's a game that I still need to jump on, and I think I actually will really like it, because anything I see that real dark, atmospheric, and dark tone, I think will really impress me. But the game that I'm going for with number 5 is Elite Dangerous. It is
cool.
That's a good pick.
Hardcore space sim. It is basically a hardcore No Man's Sky. That's probably the best way I can describe it. You at the very start of the game, you are given a ship, and you can decide whether you want to become a bounty hunter, an explorer, a courier. You can actually become just someone that takes tourists off into the deepness of space to show them different points of the Milky Way. The Milky Way is based on the real Milky Way, so there is a massive sense of scale, and there's also a massive sense of discovery that when you're in an area that humans can't even reach, there is a sense of wonder. And it's a game that actually it really blew my mind when I played it. The way the missions are dealt out is you stop off at a space station, you will talk to a couple of people in the space station. They will tell you to deliver a package from, say, this station to another station, or to go and research a planet. And you have to make these hyper jumps, and just everything about the game. It's very industrial sci-fi, like the same sense as, say, Alien, that style of sci-fi. And it is just retro futuristic. Is that the one that you used before, Kent? Yeah. So it's a little bit more futuristic than the retro side, but it's still that industrial. And it's a game that it takes a lot of time. You need to put a lot of hours in, but it's really engaging. The flying in it is very sim-like, very engaging. And yeah, it was a game that I look back at 10 years from now and say that was what No Man's Sky was meant to be. That sense of wonder and just brilliance, to be honest.
Love it. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't have any experience with it, but every time you talk about it, man, you start selling me a little bit more. So I'll see.
Yeah, I definitely need to pick that up.
Yeah.
It's actually it's really cheap now. You should at least pick it up and just play a couple of hours and see what you think. It's well worth the experience.
I got nothing but time. I'm almost on winter break from work after next week.
I've got the opposite. I've got nothing but games.
Yeah, no. Play them all. Number 4 for me is Persona 5 from Atlas.
Boom, nice.
Yeah, I've never played a Persona game, and thanks to the evangelizing from Game Over Greg himself, Greg Miller, and then other people in the industry, is like, I have to try out Persona 5. And that game, I usually don't play JRPGs and kind of like shy away from that genre, but holy crap, Persona 5 is a game. It oozes style and swagger and confidence, and man, it's like the story is about these kids like taking down real world criminals in fictional dungeon crawling aspects. And the first one is all about, it's like you taking down a pedophile at school, and it's just so insane, this game. And balancing school and love life and personal life, as well as going and creating this team of superheroes, and they don't shy away. They call themselves superheroes to fight in these dungeons. And God, man, what a game! I think
it's on my radar, Sean. Can you explain what the changes are from, say, Persona 4 to Persona 5? Because like yourself, I loved Persona 4, and Persona 5 scares me because I know it's a huge time sink, but it is it's a fascinating game. I think it's actually number 1 on Metacritic this year.
I see, that's the craziest part of it, because I can't compare, because I never played Persona 4 or Persona 4 Golden. I just went right into Persona 5, and for Persona 5 to hook me like this, I knew this game was special. And even then, it was just one day you're battling in the dungeons, and the next day when the calendar ticks over, I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go to the batting cages, and then go visit my girlfriend, and go talk to my best friend, and that's what takes up your entire day. And
I think that's the problem with that game. When you're explaining it, it's like, but sure, why don't you just go and live? Like, I mean, you're going to school, you're going to visit your girlfriend, you're going to talk to your friends. It's just, I know, man. It's very engaging. Like, the social aspect of that game is very engaging.
It really is. I've sunk, I think it's last time I checked, the game clock was 55 hours into it, and that came out in February. And at some time I have to get back to it and finish it, because I know I only have like 3 more bosses left, but those 3 bosses are going to take me another 30 hours. I'm like,
I heard it's a 100-hour sync.
100 plus, man. So I can play so much other stuff. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, for right now,
Persona. Come back to me when you get that platinum, and I'll give you a pat in the back.
I won't. There's no way. There's no way. So anyway, number 4 on my list, Persona 5 from Atlas, and published on PlayStation.
Nice.
My number 4 is not going to be a surprise to anybody. It's Destiny 2.
Okay.
The game is definitely not without its issues, but I can't really deny its ability to provide me tons and tons of playtime, enjoyable playtime. The biggest issue with Destiny 2 right now is that there's a lot of other good stuff out, and they're in a gap between DLC. So I think you'll see next Tuesday, DLC is going to drop, and you're going to see that player count spike up. People are going to be asking me to run stuff again. But even just jumping in, playing some Crucible, running some of there's plenty of stuff to do there. The biggest issue they have right now is motivating people to do it. I don't think I have that issue as much as most. I enjoy the game minute to minute. It's just a really well-made game. But yeah, so number 4 on my list is Destiny 2, man, hands down.
Excellent. Ro.
And you better pray not to come up against me and Kent in Crucible, because we are badass in that thing.
Are you?
We do rank. Yeah.
We absolutely killed it in Crucible.
So Destiny 2 is on my list somewhere else, but I have to talk. I'll talk to you more about it when I get there. But we might have to run a Taz like fire team pretty soon, because like I was talking to some buddies and I started getting the itch again. I'm like, oh, I didn't think I was going to get the itch to play Destiny 2 again. Now it's starting to come back. I'm like, oh man, I gotta jump in.
I have to get it for my son for Christmas. Yeah. So I'll be jumping back in with Ken to finish that expansion.
We got to get you guys in a raid, man. It would be an absolute crime for Ronan not to experience the raid, the kind of stuff he likes in games.
Yeah, absolutely. Man. Yeah, we'll do it. Let us know. So wait, who said Kent? You just went with Destiny 2. Sorry.
Yeah.
Bro, you're up.
Number 4 for me, and it's because of the personal experience I had with the game. I don't have an Xbox and I don't have a PC that can run PUBG. So Fortnite has been my cover for that game, and I've had a really fun time in Fortnite.
Yeah.
I think Epic have done a really good job in making it less hardcore than PUBG. I think PUBG would be more my style, but until we have the long wait until it comes to PS4, if ever. Fortnite has just been a really, really fun time. The fact that it's free to play, all my friends are playing it at the moment. I jumped on with Buy and Plays Paddy Toner as well, and me and him have just been running through it. I actually got a win, which is up on the YouTube.
Chicken dinner or not?
Yeah,
chicken dinner.
I took out a guy from about 400 yards with a Magnum. Supposedly, now this is not coming from me, but across the world they started calling me Magnum Sniper. I'm just saying. So Magnum Sniper. If you see me coming, beware. And if I have a Magnum, you may as well just put your controller down.
That's a good pick. That one got edged out by Mario Rabbids on my list, but me and KG have been playing a fair bit of that on the team setup. And it's just really fun game. It's almost kind of like Destiny in that it's very junk foody. I would really like to. I didn't realize I have some other friends. I bought it early access, so I have access to the single player stuff in it. And I've been trying. I would like to try and get some people on to do that, because that stuff is also very fun. It just gets overlooked and kind of overshadowed because of how popular PUBG is, and kind of by extension how popular that battle royale mode is. You know.
Yeah, I mean, my because I haven't played it and I haven't played PUBG yet. I'll be playing PUBG when it hits the Xbox in a couple weeks. But my thing with PUBG with Fortnite that I've been hearing is all the students, like for the students at the end of the semester, I'm like, okay, if you guys get like an A for the semester, it's like I will give you like my PSN tag and I'll play video games with you for one night. And they're like, oh, okay, what are we gonna play? It's like, let's play Fortnite. I'm like, no. And so the exposure I have to Fortnite is those in high school and middle school. They're obsessed with Fortnite, and it's like what Fortnite did with taking that battle royale mode and putting it into the game with like more cartoony graphics and less hardcore. They've tapped into this market where I'm absolutely shocked how many like 13 to 17-year-old guys like want to play Fortnite. I want to play battle royale. I want to play.
Well, it's free. They didn't have to ask their parents to get it for them, or you know what I mean.
Yeah. Also true. But man, that it's taken off, man. Hats off to Epic for pulling that one out.
Yeah, you gotta take into consideration, right? Like I never have trouble finding a game in that, and it's 100 people per game.
Yeah. Insane. So, Ro, so that was your 4?
Yeah.
My 3 is Destiny 2 from Bungie. So
somebody rated it higher than me.
I did. So I looked at my top 10 list, and as I'm actually like putting it together was I want to put in hours played and like the time I went back into it and just like my experience with the game, right? So my first experience was, and this is public, like on the show, is my ex-girlfriend and I, we played Destiny, the original, like so many hours, pumped in hundreds and hundreds of hours. That was a big part of our relationship, was bringing our consoles to each other's house, bringing like a small monitor and just playing Destiny and just enjoying each other's company. So when Destiny 2 fired up and you got to see you've accomplished all these things with Dark Wizard 47, it got back these like memories and like this sense of like just like romanticness like to it. And so I'm like, this was like Destiny was really special. So when Destiny 2 started, I had no idea the experience I was going to go into it. And for what it is, I mean, we've talked how it's junk food gaming at its best. And it's like, I find myself now, it's like, oh, I don't know what I want to play. Jump into a strike playlist, play 3 strikes, go and change them out, see if I get any other weapons. Oh, what are the challenges for the day? Oh, I can get these 2 done. I'll flip a class. I'll do this Void Walker challenge or something, get that done. I still can't break like 270 light or 274 light for some reason, but so I don't know. So it keeps calling me back. It's like the siren song of gaming. And so I wasn't gonna be down for the DLC, but yeah, I'll be down for the DLC on Tuesday. I never thought they're gonna get any more money out of me, but with the level cap going up to like 345, I'm like, oh cool, I can get to 300 now, like rad. So I'll get there and it'll be get to run it and do some raids, and we'll get that going. So yeah, over the last couple weeks, I found this like love again for Destiny 2. So they got me back, and they're at number 3 for my games of 2017.
Awesome. Well, that is definitely a shocker for anyone who's a fan of the show that anyone would rate Destiny higher than me.
Yeah, and I didn't think I was too, until I started actually placing my list. I'm like, okay, I played it more than this. I played it more than this. I played it more than this. I had better experience than this, and that's how I had to start divvying everything up. So again,
for me on the top 5, it ended up losing out to the top 3, and it's because the top 3 games on this list for me personally are just undeniable. They belong where they are. And so number 3 for me is Wolfenstein 2. You kind of already talked about it. I think my positioning on it ranks higher because the sort of aggressive and visceral nature how that game started didn't put me off it. I expect, like, my history of gaming starts for the most part with PC games, old PC stuff, Commander Keen, Wolfenstein, Doom, Hexen, Heretic. I mean, just old stuff that people don't play anymore. Rise of the Triad, And so I never expect Wolfenstein to be anything but just over the top graphic violence.
Yep.
So it didn't catch me off guard. It actually kind of got me hyped because I was like, oh, they're doing it right. They're bringing it up into the modern era. They're really gonna go for it. And they did not disappoint. They went for it.
Yeah, they sure. Yeah, they sure as hell did. So,
like you said, they don't pull any punches.
Nope.
Like I said, if I could level any criticism at the game, and it really only happens to you when you first start off, is that the game will rope-a-dope you sometimes. It'll make you think it wants you to do stealth when it doesn't.
Yeah.
Or at least it seemingly isn't set up for it.
Yeah.
But just a really great game, really great story. And there's one spot in the story, I don't want to spoil it for people, but there's one spot in the story where they jump the shark. It makes sense in Wolfenstein 2, I guess, but it's just a bit much for me. But once I move past that part, I'm totally
that
okay.
part? Is it
yes,
that part?
That part.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, yeah, cool.
It's just a bit much for me, but
it is. I'm like,
foreshadow it. They did foreshadow it, and they did all the right storytelling techniques that I shouldn't be upset with them for it. And I have to say that even after that, the story gets even more interesting and more diverse.
Anya,
just really well done.
Yeah, I mean, like that was one thing I forgot to talk about when I was discussing Wolfenstein 2 was when it comes to Brian Bloom playing it, like I love that fact that Anya is constantly in his head and he's trying to prove his mission to her as he's going, and it's like this chip on his shoulder. It's like this narrative thread that he just keeps talking about. He's always constantly talking to this ghost of his past that inspired him to be like the soldier he is. So super rad, man. Yeah, so good. Ro, you're up.
Again, that was mentioned earlier on from Kent, actually, is my number 3, and that is Cuphead. A game that I had my eyes on that game for a long time, and when I seen the art style, I love the art style, but what I love about it more than anything is you think it's going to be this real friendly platformer like Mario, and it just
kicks
your ass.
Yeah.
But it kicks your ass in a way that it feels fair, like Kent mentioned earlier on. Very like the Bloodborne-esque bosses where you die and then you jump right back in and you try and figure out just something new every time you play it. And the bosses are varied enough from one to the other that it feels new every time you jump into a boss battle in that game. And the thing I always loved about those style games is when you pass a boss, there's something magical about moving on and seeing what that next part is. it's lost in some games, some open world games. It's just like you're moving on through the game and you're not really appreciating coming to a new area. But with Cuphead, I feel like because there's so much love put in that game, there's just magic around every corner. I love the way you upgrade your character. Every boss you take on, you feel a little bit more powerful. You have to actually juggle your abilities later in the game to suit your own playstyle, which I also like. I love the story. I love how witty it is, and it's if 1 and 2, if the games that I chosen for 1 and 2 weren't released this year, that would be my #1 game this year, hands down. I absolutely love it.
Cool. I mean, that's a good point. Like, and what's funny is you bring up Cuphead, and when we talked about it the last show, the Cuphead is that game. I'm like, Cuphead, I just want to love you. Just let me love you, and not just like keep punching me over and over again. But yeah, I mean, that's one thing during the break. I do want to go back and like just sit for a long session and just get my face kicked in by Cuphead and just enjoy every moment of it. Because
Sean says, "Cuphead, let me love you," and Cuphead says, "You soft, Sean."
Yeah, you soft. You gotta harden up, boy. You gotta harden up. You gotta harden up. I'll let you love me a long time. We're not doing that. Now we're getting to the nitty gritty of it. We each have 2 games left. So my number 2 game of the year.
I predict real quick in the next 6 games mentioned, 3 of them, maybe 4 of them will be the same.
Yeah, probably. This is how we're going to do. So
I wonder when we round it up, our first will be the same. That'd be awesome.
See, that's what I'm wondering. Is like Broden and I have been juggling 2, like back and forth.
Yeah.
Ken, I don't know what your top 2 are. I would have said Destiny was going to be your top 2, but I wasn't sure. So now this is going to get interesting. My number 2 game, Assassin's Creed Origins from Ubisoft. So that's my number 2 game. Kent, we discussed it at length. I do want to touch a little bit, just more elaboration on that. Bayek is the first character I actually like cared about in Assassin's Creed. Everyone says like how good Ezio was, and that was his. You saw him as evolution from literally a baby up until like full blown like assassin badass. But for some reason, I connected with Bayek more. He's doing this as a protector of Egypt, but more so as a justification and a revenge story for like the death of his son, for his son's murder. And there's no easier way for me to connect than like to do something like that. You make it personal to this larger story. I love how it's truly the origin of the assassins, the Brotherhood, and they play that all the way through up until like the end credits. The exploration is top notch. I mentioned it three weeks ago, I think, was it outdoes Zelda, where you can climb anything and it makes sense of where you climb. Yeah. Not just Zelda where you can like face a wall and just start going straight up just magically. I'm like, I don't know if that works, but can't you touch on traversal? We all agree that the combat is the least appealing part of this entire game. They still have work to do to actually like make me interested in the combat, which is it's just there. I'd like to experience the story and explore and ride camels in the desert. And there's one sequence where I was wandering through the desert and it's a trophy I didn't know I was going for at the time, but you're wandering through the desert and all of a sudden you have a hallucination, starts raining toads. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening right now? And like, but the heat gets to your character and you start seeing these things, and it's just such a full-fledged world and varied and beautiful, and god damn, what a game. Again, massively underplayed from people who I hear talking about it. They're like, oh, I haven't played the new one. I'm like, play it. Do it right now. Play this.
The world number 2 is definitely the secret star of that game. Like, Bayek is a great character, no question, but the world is definitely like secretly the supporting actor. Yeah,
totally. So yeah, that's my number 2 game, Assassin's Creed Origins from Ubisoft.
All right, my number 2 is guaranteed to be not on anyone else's list anywhere.
Okay,
I've heard most of your lists now, and I know
it's Tom Clancy's Wildlands.
It is.
Yeah.
Wildlands. Nice. And you know what, man, that game deserves that spot in spades. I have had so much fun playing that game. It's kind of like Destiny, but it does something that Destiny or a lot of these other games that they've tried to do something similar can't do, and that it encourages you to work in a team and encourages you to play tactically. The online is really well done. In fact, I saw a comment from somebody in a group, and they said, oh, Wildlands has got an online mode now. Everybody's trying to get that PUBG money. If you're listening to this and you think Wildlands Online is like PUBG, it's not. Get that out of your mind. It's like a 4-on-4 paintball game but set in Dark Souls. It's fucking hard and it's tactical, and there is
awesome.
no room for fuck ups. And I really enjoy that aspect of it. The DLC has been phenomenal, really neat and varied, and changed stuff up. All of it didn't resonate with me, but it was unique and different. The world is massive. Your ability to do anything in it is massive. I can't say enough good things. I really enjoyed my time with Wildlands. I still guarantee you, it's the only game I bought on 2 consoles this year.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's me and Destiny too. 2 consoles, 1 purchase. So
I'm trying to resist the urge for that to be my second game that I buy on 2 consoles.
Yeah. Ro, you're number 2. You're up.
So this is such a throw of a dart, and this is the God honest truth. And I'm going to go with my number 2 being Assassin's Creed Origins.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
it gets interesting now. So I think we all have it.
And okay, I want to explain a little bit about Origins because this game, I shouldn't be as interested in it as I am. When I played the game first, it was actually over in a friend's house, and when I turned it on and started into it, I felt like, just like you said, the world was just amazing. It just grabbed me straight away. Never have I felt a sense of just, exploration and wonder than I do in ancient Egypt. I can't actually remember any other game ever that has this world. If you can correct me, but I don't think I've ever experienced ancient Egypt in an open world setting. It is a world that is surrounded by mystery. We know very little about. It's so old. It's 3,000 years old. I actually think this game is set, is it 43 BC?
Yeah.
And yeah, for me, the start of the story is, it doesn't do a good job setting up the world. I don't even think it does a good job setting up Bayek as a character. I think it takes a while to actually understand and get to know Bayek, but also why the hell, where is he in this world, or what part does he have to play? That's the only gripe that I have about this game, is the first opening maybe 8 hours. I felt a little bit lost. I didn't think the story was just fleshed out as well as it could have been. But yeah, the star of the show 100% is ancient Egypt. It is the best reimagined world in my eyes in any video game ever. Looking across the desert and seeing the pyramids and just having this sense of wonder, where I'll probably never get to see the pyramids. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll have an opportunity to go and see them. But they're this wonder that I've heard about them since I was young, and to be able to traverse them, to be able to dive into the tombs, and it feels, you light up the torch and you move in through that tunnel, and it's done in a way that is so realistic, it's so true to life, that it feels like this is the way it is. It would have been back then. Like you said before, Sean, I think you mentioned about the horse riding and the camel riding is flawless. The animation in both horse and camel are just amazing. Senu is a really, really good aspect of gameplay, where you can, scout enemies. It doesn't feel like you're just, not that you use a pair of binoculars in ancient Egypt, but it just has a cool sense of searching out targets, and it's just a really good element of gameplay. The stealth, as you mentioned earlier on, Kent, is very, very smooth. You can take on like temples and fortresses and get through the whole place without being seen, and it feels amazing. I'll actually go back to the combat. I actually like the combat in Origins. I think it is very different to any other Assassin's Creed game, and I think because it's different, that is the reason why I gave this a chance. No other Assassin's Creed I was able to, use L2 to block, and you can just hold up your shield for as long as you want. There's no other Assassin's Creed game that would have let you do that. R1 is a light attack, R2 is a heavy attack, and you can whip out your bow with L1. It feels Dark Souls-ish. It's not as tight, I will give it that. It is clunky at times, but I've I've got to know what I can use and what I can't use against different enemies, and what weapons work against different enemies. Something that you guys didn't mention that I like, and I don't know why I like it, is the RPG aspect of it.
Oh yeah, we haven't talked about that.
Yeah, so the
Yeah,
leveling up
very
just
Diablo-esque.
feels you know, that sense of achievement of getting to a level. And if you go past the level of an area and then you go back to that area when you're over leveled,
Yeah.
and you can just rip boys asunder, it is just it's just amazing feeling. The last thing I want to talk about, I'm just trying to think what else I love about that game.
Dude, my last thing to talk about Origins is something that we haven't talked about yet, and I don't know why, is this whole like 6 hours of this 40-hour experience that you're playing as Aya, like his wife,
Yeah.
the ex-wife, that the combat feels different. She doesn't use a sword, she uses twin blades. You're doing mostly the we talked about in previous shows where it's the Black Flag developers on this one. And it shows within like the naval combat you're able to experience. So they brought that. It's not too much, it's just a little bit to get that taste. And it just changes the gameplay a little bit, so everything keeps feeling fresh, and you're not getting just repetitive nature just over and over and over again, which is, God, the design is just
I really love that game. I have to say,
Yeah, me too.
it is like I've talked to you about it before, Sean. It is one game that has really impressed me in the last maybe 4 or 5 years.
Same.
It's after really impressing me what Ubisoft have done to reignite that series. Like we've talked about Black Flag before, a great game, but it was never, for me, it was never as engaging as Ancient Egypt. The sense of exploration and heading off and diving into this tomb and whipping out your torch and finding a new sword or a new shield. And another aspect as well that we didn't dive into, and it has to be said, is the gladiator arena is absolutely amazing. As you go up through the levels and they start throwing out. And another aspect is the wildlife that is in that game. Like there's so many elements to that game that I love. Really that is just I'll end up finishing it, and like yourself, I'll probably head on and platinum that game because I'm totally in love with it.
Yeah, I never wanted it to end, so which is why I love platinums, but I also never wanted that game to end, which is why I made sure I did everything possible in that entire
I feel
game.
like I'm about 90% through, and then you whip out the map, and you're just like, I haven't even covered half of this map.
Yeah, I know.
Story go like?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. But with that, so if I tabulated everything correctly and I try to keep a list, we all have a game at number 1. It's exclusive to PlayStation. Mm-hmm. It's published by Guerrilla and developed by Guerrilla Games.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
And this is Horizon Zero Dawn. All of us have it for our number 1 game of the year. So we can just turn this into a mini roundtable discussion of like why we like this game so much.
I actually kind of wanted to point out why I like it better than Origins. So.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
Because they're so similar, you know.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just jerk this game off a little bit first. The first 2 things I want to mention is Aloy as a character. I think she is with Nathan Drake kind of fading off into the sunset of Uncharted 4. PlayStation does need a new trophy character, mascot character to put on t-shirts, whatever. I think Aloy has the entire I think she's gonna be one of them. Played by Ashley Birch, marvelous job. She's controlled when she needs to be. She's emotional when she needs to be. The capture is great, but for me and anyone who knows the show and knows video games as a whole, there's number 1 thing that's king in gaming, and that is gameplay. And there is nothing I've experienced in gaming that I can remember as terrifying as I was playing the Frozen Wilds as a DLC. There's a new... let me put that aside. I'm finishing up... I finished Frozen Wilds. It's tremendous, but I'll move it back to... We've all finished the main game, where these... God, what the hell are they called? They're like half Tyrannosaurus, half...
Thunderjaws?
Thunderjaws. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. And... the experience of charging into a Thunderjaw fight for the first time and knowing you only have these 3 weapons, the sling, the bow and arrow, and like the line launcher, and then I used a lot of tripwires, and just going in there and just fighting these 15-foot mechanical dinosaurs as a native girl is just so... the sensation is incredible, and it's exhilarating, and it's scary, and the photo mode is brilliant, and that's the only game I've ever played around with a photo mode before. It's because you're able to capture these moments so perfectly. Another thing I want to add is for those who like play the Frozen Wilds is this big aha moment is it tells you exactly where the game takes place. And I did not think that's where it took place. And it's like this great moment. I'm like, holy shit, this is worth like the $20 itself, knowing like where I actually am. Freaking awesome. So yeah, that's my rant. But Horizon Zero Dawn by Guerrilla Games is the Alpha Zone's game of the year. I'll let you guys work away now.
Unanimously, the Alpha Zone's game.
Unanimous. That never happens.
So, like, if you were to make a bullet pointed list of the pros and cons of this game and AC Origins, they would be actually pretty close.
Sure.
And, for me, especially, I had to kind of look at why I felt like Horizon was such a better game, because there was a pretty big gap. Unlike you guys, there was a pretty big gap in my list between Origins and Horizon.
Yeah.
Horizon's combat is miles better, in my opinion. It's AC Origins has a lot of weapons and you're able to be variable, but Horizon has mastered making it variable on the fly. And I think that's what's really special about that. The villains and the enemy characters and the wildlife are kind of all rolled into one, and it's done so seamlessly and so brilliantly, and it's imagined so uniquely that like I think it almost kind of trumps the fact that I do like the environment of Egypt better, but the story in Horizon is just much more compelling. Yeah. And the characters and the enemies and the wildlife is much more compelling for me. And Aloy herself, as much as I like Bayek more than I've liked any other assassin, and I like, toast with butter better than all the dry pieces of toast I've ever had. Aloy is just a more interesting character. She's more well fleshed out. She's better played, I think. Enjoy her more. And I enjoy the nature of that game to sort of like awe-inspire you with things you didn't even know were coming. Yeah. And AC Origins, I don't think, has an easy time doing that, because you know what to expect of Egypt for the most part,
Yeah, totally makes sense. Bro, what do you got on Horizon before we wrap the show?
So I would argue that I would prefer the bows in Horizon, but I actually prefer the melee combat in Origins.
I can see that.
And the reason why I put Horizon ahead of Origins is because of the story. Horizon has this mystery surrounding its world that you feel like you're uncovering it bit by bit. You're trying to uncover also Aloy's story as well. And that sense of discovery from start to finish in Horizon it's amazing to figure out her story and how this world has become what it is. Nobody mentioned the robot dinosaurs except you, actually, Sean, with the Thunder Jaws. But the robot dinosaurs are a pretty original and awesome enemy.
Ironically, I don't even find the robot dinosaurs are the neatest ones. Like the really weird animals to me are the ones that stick out, like the crabs that have the big storage on their back. So many neat animals in that game that when you tell somebody it's robot dinosaurs, there's so much stuff in there that's not really a dinosaur. It's just kind of neatly executed,
Giant robot chickens. You're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
So I would argue that the actual human characters in Origins are better enemies than the human characters in Horizon. But the robot enemies are much more interesting. I like the fact that they have weak spots that you're trying to break down, and also the bow being number one weapon in Horizon, and the amount of different elements that you can attach to that bow, whether it's a frost arrow, or you can take out a trip gun and trip the enemy, and the animation in that game is beautiful as well. I love the art style in Horizon. I think it's a very original art style. It's got a kind of a cartoony aspect that makes it just looks gorgeous. It's got like an orange hum to it that just is it's amazing, and it really shines in the world. But it's a game that I think we all have to just appreciate, because it's difficult to bring out an original IP in this day and age. It's a difficult risk, and it's not a risk that a lot of developers want to do in this day and age. But it's actually what us gamers want to see. We want to see more new IPs being made. And I think if you look back through our list, it's a big middle finger up to EA saying that we actually want single player experiences. This whole thing where EA thinks that single player experiences are out the window is ridiculous. Because single player experience is what kind of lives in your memory. Like you playing Battlefield or Battlefront, 50 hours or 100 hours, that's not going to live in your memory as long as a game like Horizon that may take maybe 30 hours to get through. And I think EA just need to pull back the curtains on that one a little bit. But Horizon I'm looking forward to number 2. I can't wait to play the Frozen Wilds, and it deserves number 1 game of the year for us at the Alpha Zone.
We did it. Before your random question at the end, listeners, we're almost done here, is going to be our most anticipated game of 2018. But to stand on our soapbox a little bit is, Ronan, you brought that up. I never even thought about that. I'm looking through my top 10 single player, Destiny 2, single player. 9 out of 10 games on my top 10 list are single player focused, and that shows where we are as our passions lie, like in the industry and within games coming out. So hugely telling, at least for my list. So
yeah, same here. Like I'm at 80%. Depending if you want to count Injustice as online or single player. I haven't really touched online, so I'm throwing it in single player. So like 80% of my list.
That's awesome. So there you go. There is a 2017 for the top 10 list, and our game of the year, Horizon Zero Dawn by Guerrilla Games.
It goes without saying that if you guys have not, you guys listening have not played these games, they're definitely all worthy of your time.
We gave you like 25 different ones. Like just choose. Have your choice.
I also want to say that there's a couple of people in the comment section talking about Nintendo games and games that should be on the list, but I want to just tell everyone that this is a personal preference list, and we are PlayStation eccentric mostly, but we do dive into other consoles. So if you're not happy with this list, I mean, make your own podcast, I suppose, and do your own list. This is a personal list for us, and this is why we just don't want to just list off top 10 games that IGN make. This is our list, and what's true to our heart.
This is how we do
it. And I guess maybe even to go a little deeper in the Switch end of it, is that a lot of the if you really take a hard eye to the Switch stuff, a lot of it is stuff that we've seen before. And so I'm a Wii U person. They haven't done much to impress me that this is anything more than just a Wii U with a smaller box underneath the TV. I like the hardware, I like the kit, but so far the software hasn't really been there in a creative way. It's just kind of rehashing old ground. And that's kind of our number one criticism of Nintendo, I would say, as a group, is that they kind of make iffy business decisions and retread bad ground, or old ground. I wouldn't say bad ground.
And that being said, for those who are watching on YouTube and engaging in the chat, we thank you for watching. We don't want to harp on you too much. Yeah, but thanks for the feedback. But again, we're PlayStation centric. Kent and I both had Switch games on our top 10. So yeah, I mean, like they placed, man. Like mine, Super Mario 7.
Mario Kart was very close to getting on mine. It just didn't make the cut.
Yeah, it's like we're there. So your random question at the end, boys. Your most anticipated game of 2018. Kent.
Right now, man, I got to go with what I know is coming out first of all, because I don't want my heart broken.
Yeah, me too.
But also, I kind of like right now, because I know I'm going to get it soon. My anticipated game is going to be different right now than it is in 6 months from now.
Totally.
But right now, my most anticipated game is Dragon Ball FighterZ.
Oh, cool. Interesting. Didn't know that was going to pop up. Cool, man. Like fast-paced, intense combat, announcing new characters every day. Awesome. Ronan, your most anticipated game of 2018.
Well, I hope it comes out in 2018, but I'm going to go with The Last of Us 2.
Okay. Last of Us 2, I think Ronan's going to be disappointed.
Yes, I agree.
For games that I know,
it's going to be a most anticipated game of years for multiple years.
Yeah, I know. We'll check back in a year, ladies and gentlemen. For me, for most anticipated game of 2018, I'm with Kent. I want to know a game that's for sure coming out in 2018. So with that being said, I'm going to go Spider-Man by Insomniac Games. So they don't usually miss dates like that far out. So if it gets pushed in 2019, I'll be shocked. As a backup, Red Dead, because I'm sure that'll come out in 2018. We're all jacked for that. So that is it. That's your Game of the Year episode of the Alpha Zone Gaming Podcast. Again, the Alpha Zone Gaming Podcast is brought to you by Mostly Stickers. Right now, we're offering a 10% discount code off of your total purchase at mostlystickers.etsy.com. Just enter in the code AlphaZone at checkout. That's ALPHAZONE. Ronan, tell the people where they can find you at.
So just a shout out to a guy in the comments that wanted a plug at the end. Check out on YouTube, XXXTRAH and 2 underscores. He is a YouTuber that's making some really cool content. Check his stuff out. He's an awesome guy. Cool. Also, I am doing a little bit of article writing on buyandplay.com. That's Paddy Toner's new website. Paddy is actually a listener of the show. So if you're listening,
and a
Paddy,
friend.
I'll be doing a lot of write-ups for you. I've done a UFC 3 beta impressions article. It's my first for that website. So there's going to be more coming from me there. And just check out that website in general. It's a really awesome place to buy and sell consoles and games and whatever else you got going on. And just check out our Instagram, which is the Alpha Zone Gaming, Facebook, Alpha Zone Gaming, and Twitter, the Alpha Zone Gaming.
We did it.
Also on iTunes. At the
iTunes.
We keep forgetting that.
I know.
Do not forget that.
It's the main source. Kent, where can the fine people find you?
People can find me, as always, at Squirp, SQU1RP on everything. Fuck, man. Switch, Xbox, PlayStation.
All of it.
Instagram.
Not Wii U.
Bathroom stalls.
Wii U.
Your mom's phone book. Whatever, man.
Just a squirt. Just a squirt.
But if they add you, Kent.
If they add you, sure.
Yeah. If you guys add me, you got to tell me where you're from.
Gotta go fizz ads.
Otherwise, you will enter my new round of screenshots of horrible things I say to bots.
Yeah, definitely. Ladies and gentlemen, from me, we will be back before the end of 2017 to cheers 2017 as like the going to the second full year of the Alpha Zone Gaming Podcast. But until then, again, go on iTunes, search for Alpha Zone Gaming Podcast. Like, subscribe, share. For those in the chat, thanks for stopping by, talking about our madness and entering the chat, discussing things. That was super fun. I'm glad we got feedback. I have like students of mine that said they're going to drop in and say what's up. So students of Beatty Middle School, what's up? This is what Mr. M does on the side. So hope you enjoyed the conversation. As always, we do this show because we love it. We don't get paid. The sponsor that we just named did not pay us. We're doing it because he's a friend of the show and wants some fun. And so, yeah, we do it for the love of it. We're 3 guys from around the world that get together once a week to talk about video games and all things we love about them. So, again, I'm your host, Sean Mulloy, for the Alpha Zone Gaming Podcast, and we are out.